Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Betsy Cooper, and I am the director and the founder of the Aspen Tech Policy Hub. It is super wonderful to have so many of you here with us today. For those of you who are new to us, the Aspen Tech Policy Hub is a policy incubator that trains technologists in the policy process through fellowship and executive education programs. I'm thrilled to welcome you all today to our last demonstration day event of the second cohort of the Tech Executive Leadership Initiative, also known as TELI. The TELI program is a joint initiative of the Aspen Tech Policy Hub and the Tech Talent Project. It's a 10-week skills building initiative to prepare experienced technology leaders to engage effectively with public sector challenges. The program provides senior technology professionals with a unique leadership opportunity to build skills through real-world engagement with government and policy. The Hub and Tech Talent Project came together this spring to run the second cohort of this initiative. Every week from January to mid-April, we met with our cohort of TELI leaders to prepare them for experiencing government and policy work. This afternoon, we'll be introducing the last group of our leaders. Their culminating project asked them to take all the lessons learned from their 6 weeks and devise a solution to a real tech policy problem that governments are facing. Over the last couple of weeks, we presented our first 2 sets of projects focused on improving technology project approval processes at the state of California and on considering the merits of COVID-19 vaccine credentials. This week, we'll be presenting our last set of projects on a problem that many city governments are grappling with: how to make COVID-19 relief easier for small businesses to access and more equitable. Small businesses have suffered tremendously during the COVID-19 crisis. While cities have tried to provide relief opportunities to help small businesses stay afloat, these efforts are often uncoordinated amongst city departments and usually require businesses to submit separate length applications to multiple agencies. Small businesses are also not always aware of the relief opportunities available to them, resulting in socioeconomic and racial disparities in how business owners are taking up relief opportunities. Our leaders were tasked with the following question: how can cities better make COVID-19 relief efforts available to small businesses? For this project, they were asked to give recommendations to the fictional city of Foggyton. The leaders were split into 3 teams for this project, and as such, we'll have 3 teams presenting their own unique solutions. To be clear, these teams only had a few weeks to both understand the problem and propose a solution to this very tricky and complicated issue that was changing in real time. As you'll see, they came up with some outstanding work in this limited time, which just goes to show the power that this type of creative thinking can have to improve policy and government services. Some brief logistical announcements. After all the presentations, we will introduce our fabulous keynote speaker, Lynn Gray, from the Director of the Office of Small Business Advocate for the state of California. Please check out the links in the chat box so that you can follow along in real time with the products as we release them. And last, we'll save a few minutes for Q&A at the end. So please submit your questions in the Q&A box below, and we'll have the team members either answer the questions live or via the box. So with that, I'm thrilled to introduce the 5 TELI leaders on the first team for this afternoon. This first team includes Trish Gray, an engineering leader who is currently head of capacity engineering and cloud architecture at Pinterest; Lodrina Chern, a digital forensic examiner and principal security advocate at Cybereason; Harry Max, a product design leader who is a former board director at Trust Assurance Network; Andrea Flores, an experienced health tech and operations leader who is currently an IT business relationship director for the LA Care Health Plan; and Benjamin Hirsch, a staff interaction designer at Google's Workplace Studio. For this presentation, we'll have Trish Gray presenting. Over to you, Trish.
Thank you, Betsy, and thank you all for being here today. This is a very complex, very large problem to solve, and very crucial that we solve it in a timely manner. So my teammates and I would like to invite you to think about this problem in just a slightly different way. If we can find data on small businesses in the city of Foggyton, available data, whether that be public data, data within city agencies, or databases within the government, about their needs and who they are, then can we prioritize approaches that are streamlined and inclusive to help them not just navigate the COVID-19 relief process, but also other needs that they may have even beyond the pandemic? We think they can. And, excuse me, we think they can. And in order to do so, we believe that if we can get the right coordination from agencies, consolidate the publicly available small business data that we have, and match that up with consolidated form data models, then we can do three things here. We can personalize an outreach campaign to those small businesses. We can actually match those small businesses to the eligible relief that's out there that they're already eligible for. And then we can create a universal application process that is much more simplified and easier for those small businesses to navigate. So in order to help guide you through this recommendation that we have, I'm going to go through a few of the artifacts that we have in the playbook that we are providing that will take you through possible solutions to implement this, this solution in different phases. Okay, and beyond that, and even more important than that, ways to advocate to your city agencies to gain cooperation from them in support of this process. And really, the results that we're trying to achieve here are really huge. Right now, if you're a small business, then chances are you're even going to have a tough time figuring out what it is that you need. And then finding the information to determine what you need can be a long, arduous process, and you don't have time for that. You're running your business and you're trying to get it back on its feet during COVID. And then provided that you can even figure out what you need, identifying the right agencies for that, and then finding all the forms that you have to fill out is yet another arduous process. And then those forms themselves can be very long, lengthy, painful. There can be a lot of, supporting documents that are needed. And then the feedback loop to even figure out what you did wrong or what you need to change in order to get that could be just circumvented by not even being eligible for that relief in the first place, and it could be very frustrating. So what we're trying to do is get rid of a lot of that process and try to come to a future state where we're reaching out to them. We're telling them exactly what they need to do, asking them what their needs are, matching them up to those agencies that can then follow up with next steps and actually complete applications that they're already eligible for. So here's an example of what we feel is the most important first step, which is getting cooperation from different agencies. And what we're trying to achieve here is agreement on two things. One is, will those agencies be willing to share data with other agencies so that they can consolidate things like their form, their eligibility requirements and application requirements, so that we can create kind of a pattern, kind of a heuristic model in that pool of data that we have. And then the second thing is to agree to a set of processes that will be timely in terms of feedback, reaching out to eligible participants, eligible businesses, and giving them that feedback and guiding them through the process. Then once we're able to do that, here is an example of how we can utilize that shared data. So say we have a few agencies that agree to share their data with each other, and we find that they have similar patterns in what they're looking for eligibility. And so we can kind of consolidate those patterns into a bit of a heuristic model, a very simple pattern matching system. And then when a small business comes through, say the Foggy Street Cafe, we find that we already have several pieces of information from them. We know their number of employees, we might know their business type, their address, and so on and so forth. And so we can send out outreach letters to all kinds of businesses like the Foggy Street Cafe, and send them a message, a web address, and a registration code that they can come back to what we call a cupcake form, which is just a really, really simple form asking them for their needs. And then take that form, those form answers, and the data that we already have, and based off of that, do some pattern matching to match them to say, okay, this is a hospitality business. Maybe they will be eligible for one of these three agencies' relief programs. And then based off of that, it goes into the agency's inbox, and then the agency can say, wow, this really is eligible for one of our programs. I'm going to reach out to them. Okay. And then that's when the process starts in a very lightweight fashion. Here's an example of an outreach letter that we might send to a small business. Now notice the simplicity of this. It says, we have relief for you. Come find out if you're eligible. Here's a web address. Here's a registration code. And the second page is literally the same message in several different languages. And this is the inclusivity piece of this, so that these businesses who may have a language barrier won't have to go and ask others to help them translate and to understand what this letter means to them. They can see right away and go to the form. And then we have the form itself, which, as you can see, would be as simple and as user-friendly as we can possibly have to make sure that we're understanding that business need, and understanding that they, making them understand the process that they would go through. On the back end, we're just pulling in the bare minimum of data that we need to supplement the heuristic model that we've already created through those form inventories that we did with the participating agencies. And then, as you can see here, the implementation process flow would be as simple for the business as possible, as streamlined for the city departments as possible, and then the systems behind it would be as lightweight as possible, because we have to get something in the hands of these businesses as soon as possible. Excuse me, there is a lag. Okay, finally, the importance of a staged and phased rollout of these solutions is so important because of the timeliness of the solution that businesses need so quickly. So in phase one, we really don't want to make it so complicated. We want to keep the request routing as manual, automate just the bare minimum of SMB outreach. So sending out the outreach letters to the small businesses, and then gathering the information from what we receive in terms of engagement from those businesses and how they're working with those agencies. And then based off of that learnings, then we go on to the next phase. We fix the problems that we see, and then we create new features that can help streamline even further. And then by phase three, we've actually gotten to the point where we have streamlined it to a very automated stage and can be used through COVID relief and then beyond for even further services. And our hope is that small businesses will have a greater relationship with their city agencies and be healthier in the city of Fogington. So with that, thank you, and I'll hand it back to Betsy.
Thank you so much, Trish. Really appreciate all of your team's work advocating for a centralized data-enabled form. I want to remind you that if you have any questions for Trish and our other leaders, please put them in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. We'll get to questions towards the end of this webinar. Also, if you'll look at the chat, you'll see a link to the playbook that Trish was talking about and all the other products produced by this team. Next, I'm thrilled to introduce the 5 tele leaders on the second team for this evening. This second team includes Matt Perkins, a clean tech industry veteran who is Chief Executive Officer at Alaska Renewables; Dan Miller, a tech executive dedicated to more equitable health outcomes, who is the founder and CEO of Spora Health; Guna Jayasila Pandian, an accomplished tech executive who is currently lead engineer at Booz Allen Hamilton; Maggie Klansnick, an IT leader, most recently the Director of Enterprise Resource Planning and Data Management at NRECA, an electric cooperative trade association; and Sridevi Joshi, a tech and cybersecurity leader who is co-founder and CTO at Foresight Resilient Strategies, an information security company. For this presentation, we'll have Guna presenting. Over to you, Guna.
Thank you very much, Betsy, and welcome to you all, and thank you for attending this session and taking time to spare your evening to do this. Let me share my screen for the presentation here. All right. So before I start, this problem was handed over to us, in a very broad fashion, in the sense that, hey, how do we help these small business owners of Fogington do their, apply for their COVID-19 efforts in a more, in a better fashion, and that's, and also be equitable, right? In researching further into the problem itself, and asking the question why, right? Why does this happen? We found that a lot of the problems were due to the complex UI, the number of multiple multiple portals and so on. So we redefine the problem statement into more of an experience-based question, right? How do you get the small business owners, give them a more effective and efficient experience, right? So effective in the sense it has to go, reach those folks that need the relief, and efficient in the sense that if they are eligible for the relief, they get the relief really quickly, right? And overall, the experience should be good for the business owners. And also, it shouldn't be a very, very complex process to actually approve the. So having said that, right, we have two areas, right? One is the business owners, and one is the back-end process that actually helps the business owner get the COVID-19 relief, right? So to bridge this, our solution, looks at it from a comprehensive angle, right? Not just from the COVID-19 relief process, but what if there is another, God forbid, but still you have to be prepared for another, calamity or catastrophe, right? We need to have the relief efforts really quickly from what we have learned from this particular COVID-19 problem, right? So thinking about that, we researched about the current, you can see this process. It's very cumbersome. It's a lot. The COVID-19 relief page itself that was given to us had about a lot of records, at least 30 or 40 entries about relief that was either pending or it's not available anymore. And if you click each of those links, it takes you to other portals where there's other information that the business owner has to read through and understand, and then maybe if they're eligible, then they go ahead and apply. And then each of those application processes also require them to get some approvals and other documentation that they have to submit, and they have to wait for this. And this is a back and forth process that happens. In the back end, and I mean back end, I mean the approval side, right? On the government agency side, the verification of the data, that the documentation, all that stuff happens, and it happens in individual agencies, right? So they have their own data, they have their own systems, they have their own processes to do the verification. So what happens here is you have siloed processes, data, and systems, and you need manual verification across agencies, sending a file or physically, faxing and all that stuff that happens in the back end to actually get the relief. It's a very, very archaic and very inefficient process, to put it mildly, right? So we wanted to see how we can, disrupt this ecosystem at this point, right? And help build something that is very, very resilient and robust for the future. And that's keeping in mind that we have to provide an efficient and experience to the end user, right? In doing so, we propose a solution of a centralized city relationship management system. And what this really means is this one centralized system where, like I said, the business owners interact, the backend agencies, the approvers, and other government agencies can interact with this system, and you have a uniform experience, and you have a lot of synergy in terms of how you would do this, and it provides a more efficient interface for the business owner. And there's a lot of automation that could be done using this system. So think of it like this, right? A business owner comes in and they enter their basic information into the system, what the business is and all that, maybe their EIN and other details. The system, the CRM system takes that information, and based on data that's available from the other agencies, automatically it provides eligibility criteria, it calculates all that, and then gives it back to the business owner. And for any future relief efforts, this could be automated, that automatically you can send that information over email or even through snail mail, right, to the individual business owner, right? And this can be mobile, it can be web. So there's a multiple channels that you can access this proposed solution. All right, so the future state, like I said, that centralized city relationship management system sits at the core of all the other processes, right? So we have the small business owners that enter the vital information that they have, and then you have the other agencies also interacting with the system, and then you have the the lead government agency personnel review and follow up for additional data. Now, there is one aspect of this that I have to really stress, right? When you have a centralized system like this, it's a multi-tenant system. And what do we mean by multi-tenant system? This means that you have multiple agencies that can come into the system, right? They could add their own modules, their own workflow, their own processes, but it stays within the environment of the city relationship manager system, which means that you have uniformity of UI. You have, you can share data across agencies, so the core data that agencies can be in a common place. So this is basically master data, right? So which is basically the small business owner information that's been stored. And you can also put in COVID-19 and other relief efforts information there as eligibility criteria that can be automated for the relief efforts. So that's our future vision for the relief efforts. All right. So next, how do we do this, right? How do we do this? Today we are in a situation where we have cluttered, unfriendly UI. We have data submission that's very burdensome. There's also manual processes and whatnot, right? There's no real formal workflow and things like that. So from here, you have to go into the uniform UI, and you have to integrate agency data and all that. So there is a bridge to cross here, and as you can see, we see this as things that will bear fruit pretty quickly, as well as for the long run, right? We wanted to make it more agile, like we would see incremental, progress in the roadmap. And we want to first, concentrate on process reengineering, the CRM selection, and then the other, the staffing that you need, and the change management, which is required to do these projects as the first foundational phase. And then we want to transition on for different agencies and different relief efforts by first implementing an MVP that would help understand what problems there are and help course correct or refactor the changes that require for the system processes and, if required, staff as well. And then slowly we start training the staff for this new system, and have the other advocacy for the business owners to come in and participate. And and this process goes on where multiple agencies can come on board and be part of this ecosystem. So that's our proposed roadmap. There is a much detailed roadmap that we have as well, that I'm not going to share it right now. But as you can see in this screen, we have we have these solution artifacts, the current state and the future state, and then we have the proposed roadmap on the right. You can see that, and then we also want to give this as a memo to the digital services team to actually implement it. So we have an operational plan that brings in the people, process, technology, the different steps that are required from a data application, process, data governance perspective, all that stuff, so that the Fogleton Digital Services team can take it and then change that into project management tasks and quickly implement it. So in conclusion, I would say that this is an overall solution. It's a very long-term solution. It doesn't shortchange anything, just for the sake of current efforts. So thank you so much for listening to me patiently here, and I will revert back to Betsy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Guna. Really appreciate all your thoughtful commentary on the idea of creating a city relationship manager. I especially appreciate how you've taken a product popular in the private sector and showing how it could be effectively used in the public sector. We also apologize for a bit of technical difficulties with Guna's feed. It wouldn't be a tech presentation without a bit of a Zoom issue. So next, I'm excited to introduce our third and last team for the afternoon. This last team includes Anupam Dadamajumdar, a medical technology executive who is head of global research and development at Vyaire Medical, a provider of respiratory care solutions. Sonia Pryor-Jones, an educator and nonprofit executive who is currently Chief Implementation Officer of the FAB Foundation, and Sue Hendrickson, an experienced tech and business lawyer who is co-head of Arnold & Porter's Tech and Life Sciences Transactions Practice. For this presentation, we'll have Anupam and Sonia presenting. Over to you both.
Thank you, Betsy. All right, folks, can you see the presentation?
We can.
Right. Great, thank you. Hey, good evening to the audience. On behalf of Susan, Sonia, and we want to wish everyone a good evening and thanks for taking the time to join us. We are super excited to be here to talk to you about our thoughts around a small business digital concierge. Given the challenges that the small businesses have faced in obtaining COVID relief funds, our team decided to focus on improvements to the experience for very small businesses in interacting with city government to avail themselves of COVID relief and future disaster relief initiatives. Now, our solution is for the city to deploy a digital small business concierge, a virtual chatbot that is tailored to assisting small businesses with accessing city services. During COVID, many state and local governments have increasingly begun to recognize the benefits of chatbots for rapidly communicating with and capturing information from large distributed audiences. And we believe a chatbot could help organize and improve the city's interactions with small business owners on relief programs. Now, our research found that small business owners spend upwards of 24% of their time on administrative tasks, which were especially challenging during the COVID-19 shutdowns. Many cities have extensive documentation on their websites. However, the user often needs to navigate multiple links, many of which lead to cross-site jumps, as you can see. Often forms need to be downloaded, printed, signed, and then mailed without confirmation of receipt and follow through. How can we improve the experience of the very small business owners to engage with City Hall to access COVID relief and beyond? That's the problem that was ahead of us. Now, chatbots are being extensively used in the public sector to provide improved access to city, county, and state government documents, and have been shown to be effective in improving citizen satisfaction in heavy query answer scenarios that are quite typical in governmental interactions with small business owners. Now, coupling chatbots with robotic process automation or RPA for data extraction and with mobile and social media integration helps cities meet the needs of residents and small business owners with low friction. Our goal today is to demonstrate a fill once, use always schema. To reduce frictions in using the chatbot, it's important to meet people where they are, providing familiarity and easy launch of the new tool. Now, we have developed 4 such demos. We are going to next show you a mobile version. We'll then, we have also built a Facebook integrated version of the chatbot and a web app that can be launched from the city's business portal. We are not demoing these 2 demos today. You can see them on the website. And we'll finally finish with an exciting AI-powered chatbot that gets better with use. So we will now demonstrate a mobile digital small business concierge app that can be used to fill and submit disaster relief application. The app provides multilingual support to ensure wide access to underrepresented minorities. The app is built for guided workflow as designed by the developers of the City Hall Office of Small Business. Following their responses, the user can use a smartphone to capture information from documents such as business license. Robotic process automation, or RPA, can then be used to extract the needed information and authenticate the user's information in the city databases. The user can then fill in the needed information, such as the damage description and the claim amount. The necessary forms can then get pre-populated automatically, And upon submission, the user gets confirmation of submission right away. So with that, let me hand it over to Sonia.
Thank you, Anupam. So as you can see, the chatbot offers an ideal tool to support rapid changes that require very nimble responses. On May 3rd, the government put out a new program, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, that really required the same kind of rapid turnaround as the Payroll Protection Program that was released earlier. This particular program really required for businesses to act very quickly, and the benefits of the AI focused chatbot could allow for city to put up the information needed for businesses to move very quickly. A chatbot with AI backend gets better use and is ideal for the rapid deployment necessary for businesses to secure COVID recovery quickly. This demonstration in front of you shows you how quickly a chatbot can be used and can support people through the application process. It's posing right now the kinds of questions that SBA would pose to a potential business owner as they were going through the process. And the chatbot itself really begins to learn the process quickly over time as different users began to use it. It also takes users to websites outside of it to support it with any additional information that may be needed. The chatbot is also available in multiple languages to support the thousands of small business owners who do not speak English. And the AI backend really allows for that natural language to support the interaction with the bot and the user. If the bot can't figure out an answer to a question, it will escalate the question so that the bot itself can continue to learn the information to support future visitors and users. Now, the graphical backend for the chatbot can also help to facilitate rapid development. And it provides you with additional things on the back end like standard questions, grouping questions, and it also builds a catalog that supports multiple languages for all kinds of users. The user flow can be designed without depending on decision trees and dialogue flows, but it instead designed graphically. And one of the most useful benefits of the chatbot are the analytics. Right at your fingertips, you can have information like chatbot duration time, response time, the types of messages that people are using back and forth in the bot, as well as location. And all of this information is available through a dashboard, constantly offering you insight on use and need. As you can see from our demonstration this evening, the chatbot really offers a wide range, a total laundry list, if you will, of benefits to both the city and the small business users. Everything from efficiency and user-friendly ways of conveying very complex and large pieces of information, easier navigation across several websites that typically are hard for small businesses to take the time to find. And after months of being closed or at minimum capacity, the ability to shift a small business owner's time from working on administrative tasks to really focusing on their core business so they can build back better, if you will, is extremely valuable. What we've also found is that the multiple language capabilities are also really important with the chatbot. And they really also support the ability for it to be deployed on mobile platforms, as well as use and integration across social media. Those kinds of things really do allow you to reach the hard to reach populations and underserved populations that Anupam mentioned earlier. In addition to all of these key benefits, the chatbot's technology deployment alone is not going to do all the work. You need a very thoughtful advocacy plan. And one of my favorite quotes that I hear people in community development mention all the time is that people support what they co-create. So advocacy and outreach early on is truly essential. And in the advocacy and outreach plan, thinking about things like testing your case and those stated objectives with all the key stakeholders, building overall awareness, and making sure that you formally build in a process for continuous improvement. If you take a look at our policy memo, you will also see the kinds of public sector use cases already in effect where chatbots are really supporting city services across the country. We want to take this moment to pause and acknowledge all of those who have helped us with this project. We want to say a special thank you to the teams at Windwire and Gamelon. And we also want to thank Ms. Rebecca Ottinger and Dr. Phil Marshall for their support. And we appreciate having this opportunity to share our solution with you this evening. Now we'd like to turn it back over to Betsy.
Thank you so much, team. Really excellent presentation, and I really appreciate how much detail you've gone into about how creatively you could deploy chatbots to help small businesses navigate through their applications. So next, I'm thrilled to announce the keynote speaker for our event, Lynn Gray. Tara is currently Director of the Office of Small Business Advocate at the State of California, a politically appointed position where she serves as the voice of small businesses for the state. Prior to this appointment, she was the CEO of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce and has more generally spent her career supporting small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups in California. Tara, thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your thoughts on these projects, and more generally talking about the importance of bringing tech viewpoints into solving issues like the ones we've heard today. Over to you, Tara.
Thank you so much, Betsy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lynn Gray. I am the director of the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. The office is led by the advocate, also the director, myself, and operates within the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. Per government statute. Cal OSBA, as we call it, serves as the principal advocate in the state of California on behalf of small businesses, representing their views and interests, disseminating information to them, and advising them on state programs and regulations. Our mission is to support economic growth and innovation in California by working to ensure that California's small businesses and entrepreneurs have the resources they need to start up, connect to capital, connect to markets, and grow their businesses. We are focused on creating an inclusive entrepreneurial and small business ecosystem to eliminate opportunity gaps across zip codes, race, and gender. We have three primary objectives aligned to achieve our mission. And the first is providing resources, as I mentioned, providing access to information, training, consulting, tools for small businesses, entrepreneurs to start up, connect to capital, and to get whatever technical assistance that they need to grow. Second area and strategic objective for us is really serving as the voice of small business and entrepreneurship across the state, convening experts to address barriers, which sometimes show up in policy, barriers to accessing resources, barriers to accessing networks, barriers to partnering with private sector for solutions, some like the solutions we've seen today. Our third objective is really advancing California resilience and expanding business resilience and supporting disaster and economic recovery. As Betsy said, prior to my appointment by the governor, I was the chief executive officer of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce and Chamber Foundation, where I built a small struggling nonprofit into a community-based enterprise with a budget just over $10 million. And I dug into policy in order to make that happen, and access to resources that were made available by very good policy in the state of California, and worked to realize my vision, which was really a free market without economic, social, or political barriers to the financial success of BIPOC entrepreneurs, and most especially those from rural and disinvested communities. So as a small business advocate in that role, I was keenly focused on policy and how it affects the ability of local entrepreneurs to achieve their objectives. I'll finish my background statement with this. I've been a small business owner for many years. I've been a counselor for 2 small business development centers. I've run a youth entrepreneurship program for 9 years, a small business feasibility program in a very hard-hit Central Valley city. And in my 25 years of experience in the small business ecosystem, I think I've seen small business development from just about every viewpoint imaginable, and including technology, because that was the focus of my small business. So I applaud these projects, and I wholly support the vision of Aspen Institute, committed to realizing a free, just, and equitable society, driving change through dialogue, leadership, and action. To help solve the most important challenges facing the United States and the world. I can certainly relate to the solutions put forth today in support of that mission and strategy. And just want to reflect that I know that policy plays a huge role in governing the work of my office and the small businesses that we support. Policy can help and policy can hurt. And it's imperative for those of us that are striving for good governance, consider technology as a way to improve data collection, data aggregation, process automation, and most importantly, customer engagement, no matter who that customer is. If it's legislatures, maybe their constituency. If it's an agency, it's going to be our stakeholders. So I just really want to reflect and say these projects were incredible. All of the participants did a great job, great ideas, great projects. I'm impressed by the depth of analysis and comprehensive solutions that were offered. We know the importance of the solutions, as we all witnessed this past year exactly how critical city and county services were to delivering aid and relief to small businesses during the height of the pandemic. You know, I always say that data is king and queen, and it's up to us, you know, what we do with it. And I think solutions like these can go a long way to creating the kind of streamlined access to services that your teams demonstrated today. And I think we also learned from the pandemic that time is critical, that a few days can make a big difference to small businesses as they face a disaster and look for help. And simple, single, unified systems that make access straightforward also saves time and lives, as we saw. And I just want to give a shout out to the Digital Small Business Concierge team. I have to admit that project to me really gets at the heart of a primary frustration that small businesses have when interfacing with government agencies, whether they are local or whether they are state. And that frustration is how to get the answers they need when they need them, not on someone else's time clock, but on their own. And I really felt that that chat bot is a great way to address that hurdle and increase satisfaction for stakeholders users and enhance service delivery. And, you know, over time, implementing this type of technology leads to cost savings, which we are always looking to do at government agencies, adds long-term value, and typifies the kind of solutions that we're looking for in government. So I will also say that the consideration for in-language support is critical and greatly appreciated, considering the diversity of people and hard to reach populations, especially in our rural areas that we have in California. And during the pandemic, my office concentrated on promoting digital services and really pulling many of our small businesses back into the economy and helping them to recover with our Get Digital California campaign. And so I just, you know, again, I've said it a couple of times, I really think that technology is key. The last thing I will say is that the state budget is a place where quite a bit of policy starts. And in California, our governor has put forth significant budget actions and items to help all Californians achieve the California dream. And with the largest small business relief grant program in the nation at $2.5 billion, California is paving the way for our economy to come roaring back stronger than pre-pandemic levels. And we've asked for another $1.5 billion to help Californians recover. The governor has followed that up with a $6.2 billion tax cut program for small businesses, also the largest in the nation. And we are preparing to support the state small business credit initiative to the tune of $895 million, which works to strengthen state programs that support financing to small businesses. So all told, you know, the governor is igniting the economy and making a way for our smallest and our most vulnerable entrepreneurs to grow and thrive in the marketplace. And to me, that's good policy through budget. And we're looking to seeing a great year ahead. I want to congratulate all three teams. You guys were phenomenal. You had great solutions, and congratulations to each of you. I think it's back to you now, Betsy.
Thank you so much, Tara. We are so grateful to you for being here and really liked your reflections on so many of the details of the projects. And it's great to hear from someone who knows small business as well that these things will actually be helpful. So we're going to bring up the entire crew here and start digging into a few questions from the audience. So please remember, you can put your questions for the team into the chat, into the Q&A box, and we will either answer them live or answer typed out questions. Tara, I'll start with you. Since joining the Office of the Small Business Advocate, what have you found to be the business owners' biggest concerns right now? What's top of mind for small business owners?
Well, frankly, top of mind is getting recovery underway significantly, getting us open, getting our economy back moving the way that it was pre-pandemic. And that's a struggle for many. When you consider that 50% of all small businesses are home-based, there are a lot of dependencies that can affect success. Rent moratoriums, you know, housing shortages. I mean, there are a lot of ancillary things that affect the mindset of our small business owners, the stresses and the strains on them. And so we're just really looking in my office to provide the resources to smooth that transition back to an open economy and our businesses to get back to thriving.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to ask Trish, We had a question. Do you envision this universal form idea hurting small businesses applying for relief? For instance, could agencies see that some small businesses have already gotten support by using some form of universal form?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. The question is, do you envision that this could actually hurt small businesses to have a universal form? For instance, one agency might decide not to give money because another agency has already supported the same business, for instance.
Oh, that's definitely a consideration, and that would be a cause for concern in terms of agency coordination. The idea is to have engagement for these small businesses across the board, and there shouldn't be really any competing for that. So the first order of business really is bringing together those agencies to coordinate and to have these agreements codified and kind of enforced through city hall, making sure that we are doing everything for the benefit of the small business and not for the benefit of any one agency.
Great. And next question is for the second team. Can cities just use CRMs like Salesforce, or should cities go out and develop a new platform to support these sorts of things?
I can take that. So our recommendation is to go with a commercial off-the-shelf product, just COTS, you may have heard about it, like Salesforce and others, because one, operationally, it's much more easier to implement something like that. It's also, you don't have to develop and keep updating the software nowadays. It's all service-based, so all the updates and latest technologies would be enabled without having to reinvent the wheel. So our recommendation is to go with something like something that's already available, and there's a few software that's available especially for the government agencies.
Great, thank you. For team 3, the chatbot, are there any privacy concerns that you found around using a chatbot? For instance, would chat transcripts be saved?
I can take that question, Betsy. Can I just first say, Tara, your presentation gave me the goosebumps. So thank you. And as a California resident, I'm excited to have you as our small business leader. Look, privacy is certainly a concern, right? And as a consumer, I worry about that. When I'm talking on a chatbot, chatbots can have their own challenges. And I think this is really a problem that needs to be studied between the city. The small businesses need to know that these transcripts may be saved with their permission. Right? So I think that's something that the cities have to figure out. There's certainly useful guidance out there, especially from the European Commission. They've tried this quite a bit. We have seen that the LA small business folks have also tried it. So there's certainly interactions there. And I think it's valuable to have those conversations between folks who have already tried and figured out what works.
Great, thank you so much. Back to Tara, do you think business owners would be able to navigate tech solutions like a universal relief application or a chatbot?
I think that there are quite a few that would be. There are considerations, I think, that this team took into account that makes it that much more accessible. And that is the in-language support, which I think is absolutely critical for anyone providing a solution or any type of self-service. It is just a significant advantage for folks to be able to interface with the system in their native tongue. So yes, I think that there are many that would be able to access. Now, the one hurdle that I think that still exists in some hard to reach populations and communities are areas where good, fast, reliable internet access is not yet ubiquitous. And as long as we have large pockets and large groups of people that are in those areas, any technology solution is going to be difficult for those folks to access. So with that as the caveat, I would say, yes, I think anybody who's connected to the internet, folks who have mobile devices, those of us that are engaging in, digital tools, yeah, I think there would be no issue at all accessing the chatbot. In fact, I could see, I'm sorry, just for coming back, I could see myself preferring the chatbot, frankly, because I could do it, anytime I wanted to interface. I'm not, caught between an 8 to 5 time frame to access a city or county resource or state resource for that matter. That desk becomes open 24/7, and that's a game changer.
That's great. No, really appreciate that. So we're getting close to the end of time. So I'm going to ask everyone who has presented here one final question, which is, what is your bumper sticker? Imagine that you have the opportunity to speak to the leadership at the city of Foggyton. What is the one thing that you would want to tell them? And so I'll start with Trish. What is your bumper sticker?
Oh gosh. I would say, we're a match made in Foggyton.
Awesome. Anupam, what about you?
That's a small businesses rock.
Sonia, what about you?
Try it transparently.
Oh, I like it. Guna, what's your bumper sticker?
You caught me off guard here. But I would say, hey, I'm a data guy, so I would say universal data for all of business owners.
We'll work on your brevity for bumper stickers in the future. Tara, what's your bumper sticker?
Mine is equity and opportunity, create a California for all.
I love it. Well, so as we close the evening, I want to thank all of the teams and speakers for their outstanding work on this project. As I mentioned before, the fact that they were able to produce these ideas during a part-time program in just a few weeks gives us a glimpse of what's possible when you partner civil service leaders with modern technology experts to improve public policy. Before we close for the afternoon, I also want to take a moment to thank everyone who made this specific event possible. This includes our wonderful tele staff, Meha, Mai, Cass, along with anyone who mentored and supported the teams as they conducted research on this project. I'd also like to thank the keynote speaker, Tara, and of course the tele leaders themselves for all the work they've done. Congratulations, you're done. This culminates the last of our tele demonstration days for this second cohort. Our Aspen Tech Policy Hub and Tech Talent Project team will be welcoming a new cohort of tele leaders this summer, and we're eager and excited to announce them soon. To receive updates about the new cohort, join our mailing list at aspentechpolicyhub.org. In the meantime, we'll be so eager to see how this cohort of tele leaders uses their learnings from this program to help impact policy. Thank you so much again for joining us.